Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to Week 9 of the Fantasy 15 podcast, the official fantasy football podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Leighton Pip Shavantone.
I'm playing Todd Gurley.
And the party planner himself, Mr. Lex, the meat stud Glasgow.
Fuck Ty Montgomery. He fucked the over. He fucked everybody's fantasy. Go fuck yourself, you fucking piece of shit.
All right. Well, there's a Packers fan, basically in a nutshell. And, guys, the most selfish man I heard in sports all week was that Ty Montgomery. Poor guy, just trying to make a play. Guys, in case you guys aren't familiar with how the fantasy podcast works, basically, if you guys are a season-long player, you can listen just for the simple fact of the starts and sits throughout, our DFS segment. We go through DFS, basically all FanDuel, talk about the pricing, talk about which players at each position we like, expensive, cheap, whatever. We discuss them, break them down. And then at the end, we do some little grab bag questions and fantasy starts and sits for the season-long leagues. But before we get to any of this, Latency, producer, you know what to do. Fantasy 15, a Sauce on the Side production. Alright, guys, let's start off hot and heavy at the quarterback position. Guys, there's one man who is head and shoulders priced above the rest. Do we dare touch him?
I'm not going to touch him. I'm going to touch Cam Newton instead at 8,600. He's playing against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay sucks. Cam Newton has been amazing this year fantasy-wise. The Panthers are on a roll. Look for them to stay on a roll. Look for Cam to stay on a roll, too.
Yeah, Cam's definitely the best player of the week, but Mahomes, I'm going to have him a little bit. He throws touchdowns when they're ahead, when they're behind, on the road, at home. All he does is throw touchdown passes.
Yeah, I'm all in on Cam Newton this week. I mean, every week we talk about how we're trying to expose the Bucs defense. Guys, there's only one team in the whole entire NFL that has given up 20 touchdowns through the air. There is also one team that has less than 2 interceptions. Those 2 teams happen to be the Buccaneers, the one team. And you look at, Cam Newton, he's been on absolute fire, comes in with, 24 more points in 5 of his last 6. Buccaneers have only held one opposing quarterback to less than 20 points, and that's Nick Foles. So that's a write-off. Cam Newton all day. So guys, basically my strategy for the past few weeks, and it's paid off pretty well, cheap quarterbacks. If you get you a cheap quarterback, you can pay up at other positions, and basically in a world where everybody scores 50 points, cheap quarterbacks, they pay off well. So Lex, where are you looking for a cheap quarterback?
I'm going to Cam's counterpart this week. Fitzmagic is back, baby, and we're back on the train. He put up 20 in one half. Heck, it probably wasn't even one half last week, was it? No.
No, it was fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter. He put up 20 points in the fourth quarter. Look for him to have to keep pace with Cam and throw a lot of balls.
Yeah, I'm basically Fitzpatrick's the only guy I'm going that cheap. Anything Lex said. Buccaneers cannot stop Cam. Peyton Barber sucks. Not going to give up any red zone K to Peyton Barber. Fitzpatrick.
I'm actually going to go with Russell Wilson. 7,700. He's not dead cheap, but he's still 7,700. I mean, guys, if you guys aren't on the cheap quarterback strategy, there's something wrong at this point in your DFS season. I mean, Derek Carr. Guys, Derek Carr was a top 3 quarterback last week. You just have to pick your matchups. And so this is just a little side note. Nathan Peterman, did you guys see his price this week?
Yeah, 5,900.
5,900. That is the cheapest a quarterback has been in FanDuel history. Do you think that that's just taking a stab at Nathan Peterman in like a mockery, or do you think that there's like an actual analytics thing that they popped in and put him at 5,900?
It's them testing your ball, so you play him or not.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But I'm looking at Russell Wilson comes in playing a tough defense with the Chargers, but that's really the only way that they're going to be able to move the ball. And you look at how the Chargers have really fared against opposing quarterbacks. They held guys like Mariota, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, C.J. Beathard, and Josh Allen all under 18 fantasy points. Like that really does nothing for me. That doesn't tell me if they're a good defense. But I look at guys like Mahomes and Goff, both got 28 and 25 respectively. I'm all in on Russell Wilson, 3 straight weeks of 3 touchdowns, 3 weeks of 19.9 or more points. Guys, okay, Todd Gurley. They put us in a staring competition. They put Todd Gurley at $11,200, and they're looking us dead in the eyes and say, do you want 30 points? Are we dipping into that?
You know what? I want 30 points anytime I can get 30 points. Todd Gurley, put him on the team. I don't need to say much more than he's Todd Gurley, playing in a dome, on turf. You know, the Saints, they might have the top-ranked rush defense, but Todd Gurley's going to get the ball, and he's going to find the end zone regardless.
Yeah, I'm over Todd Gurley. This season, the Rams lead the NFL with red zone plays at 111. Todd Gurley has seen 47 red zone carries and 14 targets, most of them in the league. Last season, he tied for the league in red zone carries with 63. 16 off of that, this team gets in the red zone, get the ball to Todd Gurley.
I think this is the week that I'm going to go off Todd Gurley. I really do. And, you know, I'm just looking at the fact that the Saints are so bad through the air. It's not even the fact that the Saints are a good run-stopping team, which they are. They're first in the NFL. It's the fact that the Saints are so bad in the secondary that I don't even think that they're going to have those goal-to-go opportunities. I think it's going to be big play after big play, and Todd Gurley could obviously have a big game, but I'm going to roll the dice and just say that the Saints secondary sucks so bad that they never get the ball inside the 10-yard line with an opportunity to score. I think that every touchdown in this game is going to be off big plays. It's impossible to bottle up Todd Gurley, but if they were playing the Buccaneers, I feel like I would use the same exact strategy, that everything would be a big play. So this is the first week that I'm actually going to be fading Todd Gurley, and instead, I think I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara because he's been getting a ton of touches. Mark Ingram, other than the first game against Washington, has been kind of ineffective. He's been okay, but he hasn't been the Mark Ingram that we saw last year, a guy that really threatens Kamara's touchdown volume. And I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. I do think that Todd Gurley and Kamara are going to have pretty similar numbers when it's all said and done, but for a $3,000 pay cut, I am going to be all over Kamara. Guys, cheap running backs. They're speckled all throughout the board. I think I like cheap running backs more so than any position this week. Lex, what do you like?
I'm actually looking down at Lamar Miller this week. He's coming off consecutive games of 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. He's averaging close to about 18 points in each of those games. He's playing against the Broncos, who are giving up the 6th most rushing yards per game and giving up an average of 5.1 yards per carry. Look for the Texans to run the ball on the road. Look for them, Lamar Miller, to have at least 20 touches this week.
I'm going with Isaiah Crowell, $5,700 at Miami. Sure, he's bad against the Bears, but who isn't bad against the Bears defense? He's facing a bad Miami defense. The Jets run the ball when this game's competitive. It will be competitive. And McGuire's running the IR. So the people out of running backs, a guy named Connor, who is not very good.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Latavius Murray. Guys, he's 6,700, and he's playing the Lions. The Lions have forfeited 5.5 yards per carry. And, guys, we're looking at a running back that's had 18 carries. Just 18 carries alone in the last 3 weeks on average per game. And, you know, he's been involved in the passing downs, actually caught, I think, 5 passes last week. And, you know, if you just look at what he's done in the last 3 games leading into this, if Dalvin Cook misses, which I say you only play Latavius Murray if he does, if Dalvin Cook does miss, but just based off of averages, what he's done the last 3 games and what the Lions give up, just based on his volume, 99 rushing yards is what you should expect from him. I think Latavius Murray gets over 100, and I think he gets you at least 1 score, especially in a game that's going to be, you know, I think the Vikings should kind of have a grip on this game and kind of be looking to run the ball out, or the clock out in the fourth quarter. So, guys, wide receivers, top-heavy, very expensive plays in a lot of them, but where are we going this week for wide receivers?
You know, we haven't gave this guy the love he deserves this year. Adam Thielen, he's had 100 yards in every single game this year, averaging well over double-digit targets per game. He's had a receiving touchdown every single game except for 1 this year. His base is 20 points. I look for him to get at least that 20 points because he is the hardest working wide receiver in the NFL lately.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of paying for wide receivers, but if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go up another $400 from Julio Jones, go with Adam Thielen. He's automatic, 100 yards, at least 6 catches, go against a bad Detroit team, go with Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna push. I'm gonna push the envelope with that. Adam Thielen is the obvious play here, guys. Like, if you don't think that they're talking about it this week in the Vikings locker room that he could break the record for most consecutive 100-yard games in a row, like, you guys are crazy. And it's a pretty easy matchup. We saw 3 touchdowns get thrown against the Seahawks against Detroit last week by the Seahawks. So I think Adam Thielen's going to have his way with that secondary. But guys, a very interesting play that I think I'm all over. Tyreek Hill pops 4 times a season, and he's popped twice with over 30 points, and I think that this is another week where we can see that happen. Kansas City's defense is bad. They're going to be playing a mess, Kansas City's defense is bad. Cleveland can put up points, and I think it's going to be a very, very mad Cleveland team. So we've seen it in the past. Teams get embarrassed throughout the week. They come out and they actually play good football. In order for Tyreek Hill to have one of his, monumental games, the Browns have to kind of play good, to keep pace with them. That way they keep throwing the ball to Tyreek. I imagine that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I think that with Greg Williams taking over, he's not going to have the time to spend with the defense that he does week in and week out with game planning. And I think that Tyreek Hill will pop off this game. I think he's going to at least get 1 score and 100 yards. I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't fight the end zone twice. So guys, cheap wide receivers, I know there's a ton of them. Where are we going?
I'm going down to Cooper Kupp. When he's healthy, he is one of the best slot wide receivers in the NFL. The Saints are terrible against the slot wide receiver. Do you remember Week 1 watching Deshaun Jackson run all over the field? Look for Cooper Kupp to do that too. Cooper Kupp is going to have a monster week this week. He's healthy. He's one of Jared Goff's favorite targets and one of the best offenses in the league.
I'm going to DJ Moore, $5,300 playing Tampa. Like I knew earlier, playing Tampa. Panthers wide receivers do scare me a little bit, but $5,300. The guy got a lot of love last week. I like him a lot this week.
So this one's going to kind of surprise you guys, but it's not going to be just off of his wide receiving abilities. $4,800, I got a guy, Terrell Pryor, sitting there. And if you look me in the eyes and tell me that Terrell Pryor is not going to take a snap in the Wildcat, who was brought into the NFL as a quarterback, you're wrong. The only quarterback that is healthy on this roster is Nathan Peterman. And you look back last week, they were running the Wildcat with LaShawn McCoy. Do you not see the correlation here? They obviously signed Terrell Pryor to come in and take snaps. They did not sign him to be a wide receiver. Their wide receiving core is terrible. Terrell Pryor is not much better than that. He is brought in as a quarterback. I expect at least 10 opportunities for him out of the Wildcat. I don't think he's going to be under center the whole entire game. I think it's going to be kind of like a flip-flop thing where Peterman comes in, throws an interception, Terrell Pryor gets in, runs the ball for 10 yards. Peterman throws an interception, Terrell runs it for 10 yards. It's going to be a trade-off. But another guy, Terrell Pryor's my gut play. Do you guys think that he's going to be in it to play quarterback at all?
A lot, yeah, but I don't think they brought him in the coalition that he would play quarterback.
You don't think that there's any correlation in the fact that, like,
they had Matt Barkley today?
Huh?
Well, they had Matt Barkley earlier this week.
But, like, out of all the wide receivers that they could have went out and gotten, and Terrell Pryor, who initially said that he was going to come back and sign with the Jets, you don't think the fact that they came out and said, "Hey, Terrell, we'll let you play some quarterback. We are all in on letting you play quarterback."
No.
You don't think that had any correlation whatsoever?
No, I think it'll take out a Wildcat. I don't think there's correlation that he's.
So you think that they couldn't have found a better wide receiver than Terrell Pryor to come in and play wide receiver instead of playing quarterback? You don't think? Okay. I must be wrong then. So he did not get brought in to play the Wildcat. But go with Terrell Pryor either way. Danny Amendola, also a very good option, $5,400. He's been getting a lot of love from Osweiler, and he's going against the absolute worst slot corner in the league in Skyrene. He's going to get absolutely burned. Guys, tight ends, we don't give them high price, we don't give them low price, we just go with the tight ends that we like. And where are we going?
Greg Olsen is the obvious play this week. You saw Vance McDonald do it to him. Look for Greg with his third leg to do it to him again. Greg Olsen, baby.
Jordan Reed, $5,700 playing Atlanta. Atlanta's essentially banged up. Jordan Reed got a lot of targets all season. At home, likes a matchup.
Yeah, I'm not going to get cute with this one. I've been kind of riding this guy for a while, and I'm going with O.J. Howard. $6,000. Actually has a better quarterback put back in there. In his 3 games with Fitz, he went 6, 17, and 10. Since then, he's also been pretty consistent with Jameis. Jameis is terrible. Fitz is an obvious upgrade. But O.J. Howard has been probably the most consistent tight end with the least amount of price deviation all season, other than guys that don't even see the field and just get you 0 every week. So I'm going to ride with O.J. Howard. I'm okay with 7. I'm okay with 17. Anywhere between there is what O.J. Howard's going to get you. Guys, defense. I think it's pretty obvious on what defense it is to play, but if you guys have any flyers out there, let me know.
Chiefs, I know they suck, but so do the Browns.
No,
that's all I got for you.
That's about all I would agree with that.
3,900.
They just fired the head coach, fired offensive coordinator. Look for that to be a dumpster fire the rest of the way.
I'm actually going to go with the Bears. I mean, that's obvious, right?
Yeah.
It's the obvious play. They brought in Tyrell. I don't care what Leighton says. They brought Terrell Pryor in to play quarterback. They did not. I would say. I say he gets cut at some point this season. As soon as Josh Allen's back and healthy, he's going to get cut.
How many snaps do you go get quarterback?
At least 10. Which, for what the Bills are going to get this week, that's going to be like a quarter of their snaps. I mean, it is going to be rough. Dude, they had LaShawn McCoy playing.
He might get 10. I don't know. I think like maybe 6, 7.
I think it's going to be obvious that he's going to get a ton of work. So, guys, due to time constraints, it is here. Lex Glasgow.
Gex Glasgow.
Lex Glasgow.
Gex Glasgow's.
Lex Glasgow's Meat Stud Stack of the Week.
All right, Dippers. This might throw you off a little bit, but the Rams are going to score a bunch of points. The Saints are going to score a bunch of points. The Rams are going to score a bunch of points. The Saints are going to score a bunch of points. And Jared Goff, he's going to set the world on fire. Drew Brees is going to set the world on fire. This week, we're going to take Jared Goff. He's playing amazing. He's doing what he's supposed to do in that offense. He's averaging close to over 20 points a game. He's playing in a dome. I love offenses like this in the dome. And take his buddy, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's going to have a monster game, I think. I think this could be one of my favorite stacks ever, based off of what I've seen this whole entire season and how bad the Saints are against the slot wide receiver.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty price-friendly. I mean, you look at Goff, who is $8,600, and Kupp, who's $6,800. Like that's pretty price-friendly. Usually we're diving right at the top, but I absolutely love that. I think that Kupp does respond in a big way for being out, the last few weeks. All right, guys, so it is time for your official Sauce on the Side Meat Stud lineup. Guys, at quarterback, we're gonna play in the chalk here. We're gonna get a little ballsy with this. I'm actually gonna go with
Peterman?
No, not Peterman. 5,900, guys. 5,900. That is crazy for a quarterback that is probably gonna be starting this week. I think I'm gonna go with Fitzpatrick. I think I am. I really like Russell Wilson, but in order to make everything work, I have to go with Fitzmagic. And guys, it's not about how good he's going to play. It's how many deep balls he's going to connect on. And he's going to throw a ton, so I have to like that upside with Fitzpatrick. At running back, I'm actually going to go with Alvin Kamara and Nick Chubb. If you guys think about the strength of the defense with the Rams, it's right up the middle. I mean, you have Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, Mark Barron. Like, the defense right up the middle is where it's the stoutest. Who does New Orleans have to kind of take off the edge of the defense? It's Alvin Kamara. I think he's going to have one of his best weeks yet, and especially it seems like every time that the bright lights are on, this guy steps up and plays his best. Another guy who's kind of a boomer bust option, Tyreek Hill. I'm expecting a big game out of Tyreek Hill. I mean, I'm looking at the guy. He averages 18 points a week just because his upside is so high. He has had 30 points twice this season. He's going to pop 4 times a year, and I want to be on it whenever it happens, and I think it's going to happen this week. Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is an absolute stud, guys. I mean, come on. 8 straight weeks of 100 yards. That's obvious. You have to play him, especially anytime he's going to be under 9,000. And then I'm going my gut. I'm going Terrell Pryor. I think he's going to get snaps at the quarterback position. I don't know how effective it's going to be because the Bears are a very, very good defense. But, I mean, anytime that we get a guy who's going to get 15 snaps, 10 snaps from the quarterback position, we have to love it. I mean, we look at a guy like Taysom Hill, who's actually priced right around 6,000. You're basically getting Taysom Hill, who's playing 12 more snaps, and 1,200 cheaper. So I really like Terrell Pryor. O.J. Howard, 6,000. He's been one of the most consistent tight ends in the NFL. And then Danny Amendola. Guys, Danny Amendola gets the juiciest matchup of the season right now. I mean, he's coming off of big weeks over the last two. He had 11 and 17. I mean, he's been playing well with Osweiler. He gets to play the worst slot corner in the NFL. And then obviously Bears defense. Don't get cute with the defense this week. Play the Bears all across the board. I'm playing them in every single lineup. Hey, latency said it time and time again. Hey, if Nathan Peterman beats me, Nathan Peterman beats me.
Yeah,
and we'll live by that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go play the bad quarterback. Doesn't matter who it is. If they beat me, I'll take the L.
Yeah, and it's rarely going to happen.
Yep.
I mean, Nathan Peterman's rarely going to beat you. So we'll go ahead and talk about some big money flops, some guys that we see at the top of the pecking order here that we think will flop.
So basically, I have 3 guys, and they're all behind 5 receivers. First, Antonio Brown playing Baltimore. I'm not playing anybody in that Baltimore Steelers game.
Absolutely not. Those games are ugly.
It's ugly. I don't want to touch it. Another guy, Michael Thomas. Over the past couple of weeks, he hasn't had as many catches. He's not getting in the end zone he needs to. I don't like Michael Thomas in that matchup. And then Julio Jones. I love Julio Jones, the guy, the player. Ton of yards. Not the best matchup against Washington. Probably won't score a touchdown. Don't touch Julio Jones for that price. I like 5 receivers. That's how I play, though.
Yeah, I look right at the top of the running back position, guys. Todd Gurley, 11,000. He's going to have to score twice for it to pay off. Like, he is going to have to score twice for it to pay off. Will he? History says yes, with what we've seen this season. But there's... Do you see the route that I'm talking about with, like, could you totally see Todd Gurley not getting a chance to score within 10 yards just because the Rams are scoring so fast? You remember the game where they were playing the Vikings, I think it was, and everybody was just scoring back to back to back. Gurley ended up getting a couple chances close. Otherwise, you're looking at not the best performance.
I think the fact that they do score fast helps them, because we talked about earlier, they lead the league in investment opportunities, and so they get down there, he gets the ball.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is, like, it seems like New Orleans gives up huge plays where, Gurley might get a crack at it at the 15 and then they throw the ball. He might get a crack at it at the 20. But anytime that ball, if a player has it in space against New Orleans and they're on the good side of the 50, they're probably going to score.
No, I hear what you're saying. And normally, in past week I said I play 100% laps, 8% laps. This week I'm going 50%.
Yes,
I'm down, but I'm still confident enough that he's going to break the 22-point threshold.
Yeah.
That I'm playing with half my lineup.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to make his way into one of mine. I'm giving him one week. Just one this week. Because I'm not going to be sitting there Sunday while Todd Gurley, it went the exact opposite way. Robert Woods caught a deep ball, fell down at the 5. Cup catches a deep ball, goes out at the 1, and then Gurley scores on 2 of those. I'm not going to get my ass burnt with that. But
Did you just going to do it 19 times and not 20 times?
Yes, I'm only going to do it one time. One time. But guys, Todd Gurley, he's been in every one of my lineups recently because it's an obvious play. Melvin Gordon, he scares me. Coming back off the injury, it made him miss it wasn't last week because they were on the bye the week prior. I just don't know how much usage they're going to roll him out there for, especially if he's nicked up anyway, especially whenever they have Austin Eckler. I know people laugh and say, Austin Eckler isn't going to take points away from Melvin Gordon. He's been pretty effective. I mean, if you can take 5-6 garbage time handoffs away from Melvin Gordon to rest his legs, are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I could see that happening there. I'm not touching anything in the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. I may sprinkle on a little John Brown. May just a little bit sprinkle John Brown. But other than that, wide receiver, the only guy I'm going to probably play over 8,000 is Adam Thielen. He's the only one that I can draw a route to having a phenomenal game in. And, a little side note, I think Keenan Allen will find the end zone again. I think this is going to be the week where he gets things right. He hasn't scored since week 1.
That's it. It's been a long drought.
Yeah, been a really long
almost on Julio Jones' level.
Yeah, no, it's been pathetic. But I do think that he's going to get in the end zone. Let's go ahead and talk about some meat studs, latency.
Meat studs?
Which guys, we talked, Lex gave his meat stud earlier, meat stud of the week. Quarterback gets you over 30, position player gets you over 20. Where are you looking?
So what I talked about, my top 3 guys, Mahomes, Nick Chubb, and Latavius Murray. A guy you said like receivers over 8,000. DeAndre Hopkins. I know he's at Denver. I don't care that he's at Denver. Do you know the only thing in the world that can stop DeAndre Hopkins? That's Brock Osweiler.
That's true.
He gets postponed to anybody else. I can see him breaking the 20-point mark. I'm pretty confident he will, actually. I have quite a bit. Another guy is Kenny Galladay. 6,200. Not getting back to it on defense, but he did trade Golden Tate. And so we basically have Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay. Marvin Jones, not big Kenny Galladay. He'll probably go into the more Golden Tate role. But I'm nervous to see how often they put Xavier Rhodes on Galladay. I will not have him a ton, but I will have him enough for that price.
Yeah, I think, with the Xavier Rhodes treatment, I could see that being more Marvin Jones world, because I think that they're going to be okay with Kenny Galladay catching 4 balls for 78 yards and a score, rather than Marvin Jones catching 3 balls for 150 and 2 scores.
Yeah, I see.
So I could see Kenny Galladay popping. A guy I really like, Emmanuel Sanders. Guys, Denver seems like they just want to run the offense through him. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw the guy throwing touchdowns. We saw him running, passing touchdowns, catching touchdowns. He does everything for this Denver Broncos offense. He even has a higher passer rating than Case Keenum. So I really like Emmanuel Sanders to pop this week. I'm big on Adam Thielen. I think that he's an obvious play. Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb jumps into a perfect situation with, a very, very bad defense against running backs running the ball and catching the ball. Nick Chubb can do a little bit of both. And they haven't been working Duke Johnson in like I thought they would. So I definitely like that. Lex said earlier, Lamar Miller. I could easily see him popping off. But basically, if I had to write down today a skill position player that is going to get you 30 points this week, I'm putting Tyreek Hill down. I am putting Tyreek Hill down because I think this is one of those weeks. We see how many holes are in the Cleveland secondary. You look at the pass that Antonio Brown caught from Big Ben last week, where he was 15 yards away from everybody else, caught the ball and walked into the end zone. That's what kind of plays Tyreek's going to be given this week. And just as long as Patrick Mahomes can find him, he's going to eat. He will absolutely eat. So just a little bit of fantasy grab bang. We'll go over some questions, some things guys are probably pondering. First up, Leighton, I'm on the verge of putting Terrell Pryor in as a flex. I think that he is a flex play this week. Do you see that possibility?
In season-long leagues?
No, just this 1 week. This 1 week until Josh Allen comes back in season-long leagues. If you are absolutely hurting, I had a guy text me, ask me who should I play in the flex. It was like I think his best play that I gave him was Mostert from the 49ers
on the IR,
and then he's on the IR now. And then there was I cannot remember who it was, but it was a player that his ceiling I'd probably give him 4 or 5 points. 4 or 5 points. And this guy was like, the league's pretty thin. We're in a 12-team league, and, benches are pretty thick. I think Terrell Pryor's playable this week as a flex.
If you're in a 14 or more person league with 2 flex spots, I could see, and hampered by buys, I could see you having to start Terrell Pryor because, honestly, he probably might be the best wide receiver on that roster.
Yes, probably.
Not only that, but other than that, with this guy's bench is full of bye players. My bench now is full of bye players.
Yeah, well, his main reason was that Golden Tate probably wasn't going to play, or the Eagles, I guess, were on the bye, and then he had Tyler Boyd as well. So he was hampered by the bye week. We're week 9, so that's pretty fair.
I think it's actually the biggest bye week of all the weeks, actually.
Yeah, it usually is.
So if you're in a situation where you're 12 team, blah buys, double flex, 14 team, start Terrell Pryor. If not, there has to be a safer floor pick.
I think the floor on him is safe.
What do you think the floor on him is?
8 points.
Okay.
8 points. For a season-long league,
I'll go with 6.5. But okay.
But you think about it, man. Do you remember the 1 week where I called you and I said, "Hey, Terrell Pryor is going to play quarterback this week. I said, let's adjust the lineups accordingly whenever I get to your house. I got to your house. We didn't adjust any of the lineups. Terrell Pryor got like 15 to 20 snaps at quarterback and scored like 20 fantasy points.
I do recall that, but he'd also do a Jack Del Rio.
Yeah, well...
He was a madman. He went for 2 in New Orleans and got it somehow.
Yeah, but we're also dealing with a guy... It's him or Nathan Peterman. Actually, Sauce on the Side, we ran a poll this past week. I think we had 41 people vote on it. Who gives them a better chance to win at the quarterback position, Peterman or Terrell Pryor? Nathan Peterman got 1 vote. Nathan Peterman got 1 vote. So we'll go ahead and get to Fletch. He actually sent us a fantasy question. He wants to know, O.J. Howard or Kyle Rudolph?
I'm going to go with O.J. Howard because Kirk Cousins has shown that he likes throwing Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs a lot. And in this game against the Panthers, they're going to be down. And I go to Howard. O.J. Howard thinks he's a better overall player than Kyle Rudolph. And the Vikings haven't really schemed for Rudolph all season.
Yeah, I just looked back at last week. It should have kind of been garbage time had Fitzy not played his magic and like got him back into it. But who was his last touchdown pass to? It was like a 16 or 18 yard touchdown pass right over the middle strike to O.J. Howard. And that's kind of the way I see this game going to play out. O.J. Howard, he's not just a tight end. He's a freaking athlete. He is maybe the most athletic guy outside of Mike Evans on that field on offense. So if they're trailing, he's a guy that they can just feed the rock to and potentially get back in the game because he does have the big playability. I love O.J. Howard over Kyle Rudolph. Emmanuel Sanders or Jarvis Landry? I think that this one's just as easy as the last question. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Jarvis Landry because of the matchup. I know I like the Chiefs defense, but I also think the Chiefs defense does suck, so it's a good matchup. But that's a tough pick. But I'm going to go Landry.
I'm actually going to go with Emmanuel Sanders. No Demaryius Thomas. He's going to get force-fed the rock a ton. I mean, you think Courtland Sutton's target share will go up a little bit, but now Emmanuel Sanders goes from being the number 2 to the number 1.
He's the number 2, number 1 all season.
No, not as far as the way that they run this. They run everything through Emmanuel Sanders as being. It's tough to explain. So Demaryius Thomas is actually the number 1 read on most of the routes that they run with in Denver, but he just hadn't been getting open. Like, he has been just ineffective all season, where Emmanuel Sanders has been effective, and now all they're doing is putting, I think, a downgrade in Courtland Sutton across from him, so now it's going to cause Case Keenum to actually increase, his looks towards Emmanuel Sanders, because it's not like he can just throw the ball to somebody else because nobody else is going to be open. He's just going to try to fit it into a tight window. I mean, we've seen Case Keenum throw a ton of interceptions over his career. But no, Demaryius Thomas, he was the one until his very, very last day there. The guy's lost a step. Georgia Tech wide receiver, they always go down early.
They do.
So anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, as always, make sure to listen to the show 2, 3, 4 times. Do we make your lineups? Do actually make your lineups. Take notes on it, because it's one of those shows where we get a lot of information really quick. Lots of to process.
Alright, and on that note, for Drake, for Leighton, and Lex, and his party planning activities, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.